It's not personal. She just realized who the alpha is in this friendship, my best friend said after sleeping with my girlfriend. I cut them both off. Now he's jobless, abusive, and she's begging me from a burner phone I'll never answer that I used to think betrayal would come like thunder. Loud, explosive, shattering everything at once. But in reality, it came quietly, through the glow of a phone screen at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that I'd been with Claire for 3 years. She wasn't my first relationship, but she was the one I believed was it. We met at a friend's game night, and I fell hard. Her sarcastic humor, the way she leaned in when people talked, like their words actually mattered. And then there was Nate, my best friend since high school. We were opposites. He was louder, always chasing a crowd, while I preferred a small circle. But somehow we clicked. For years, we were inseparable. People would joke, if you're looking for one, the other's probably nearby. So when Claire and Nate got along, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. My girlfriend and best friend laughing together at barbecues, teaming up during trivia nights, texting memes back and forth. At first, it made me happy. But looking back, the red flags weren't fireworks. They were whispers, like how Nate always sat a little too close to Claire when we hung out, or the way he'd add "our girl" at the end of a joke. One night at the bar, I came back from the restroom and found them laughing, heads almost touching. When they noticed me, they flinched apart like magnets forced to the wrong pole. "Relax, man," Nate said, clapping me on the shoulder. "We were just laughing at this guy's haircut." I told myself not to overthink it. I didn't want to be that paranoid boyfriend. Claire had her own quirks too. She started dressing up more, just for herself, she claimed, when we were going to casual hangouts that happened to include Nate. She once accidentally called him when she meant to call me, then brushed it off. Little things. Always little things. That Tuesday night, Claire was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I don't snoop, never have, but the preview lit up the screen. Nate's name, and a sentence that made my stomach drop. "Last night was insane. Round too soon." I didn't want to believe it. Maybe it was a joke, some inside reference. But my gut already knew. Hands shaking, I unlocked her phone. She'd given me the passcode months ago, back when "we don't hide things" was something we believed in. And there it was. A thread of messages that painted a picture I couldn't unsee. "Nate, I like how you finally admitted I'm the alpha. Been waiting years to hear that." "Claire, don't say that around him. He wouldn't get it." "Nate, don't worry. I'll take good care of our girl." There were photos too. Not explicit, but intimate enough. Her in his hoodie, smiling at his apartment. Him taking a mirror selfie with her in the background. It felt like falling through ice. Shock, then numbness, then the crushing weight that I didn't scream. Didn't throw her phone across the room. Instead, I sat on the couch and waited. When Claire came out of the shower, towel in her hair, she froze at the sight of her phone in my hand. Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't even try to lie. Just whispered, "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I asked one question, "How long?" Her silence told me everything. Later that night, I texted Nate. "We need to talk. Now." We met in the empty parking lot behind the 24-hour diner where we used to hang out as teenagers. I half expected guilt in his eyes. Instead, he leaned against his car, smirking. "Look, man," he said, voice dripping with arrogance. "It's not personal. She just realized who the alpha is in this friendship. But don't worry, I'll take good care of our girl." I stared at him for a long moment. My best friend, the guy who once carried me home drunk on prom night, now standing there as if betraying me was just claiming his rightful place. My hands curled into fists. Every instinct screamed to punch him, to wipe that smug look off his face. But then I realized if I swung, he'd win twice. He'd have my girlfriend and my dignity. So instead, I pulled out my phone, showed him the screenshots I'd already backed up, and said calmly, "You can have each other, but you don't get me." And I walked away. No grand scene, no screaming, just silence. Because sometimes silence cuts deeper than rage. That night, I blocked them both, deleted our group chats, erased their photos, and for the first time in years, I went to bed without a best friend or a girlfriend. I thought I'd feel empty. Instead, I felt clean, like I'd finally stepped out of a toxic fog I didn't even know I was breathing. The days after I cut them off blurred together. I expected chaos, pleading texts, angry voicemails, maybe even someone showing up at my door. Instead, there was silence at first. A suffocating kind of silence, like the pause after a gun goes off and you're waiting to see who's still standing. When the messages finally started, they came in waves. Claire was first. Long paragraphs, full of contradictions. It wasn't serious. Followed immediately by, but you don't understand the connection we had. She wrote about being confused, about wanting freedom, but also about not meaning to hurt me. Each word felt like someone trying to stitch a wound shut with dirty thread. Useless, infected, and only making things worse. I didn't answer. I read every word, then archived them in a folder I labeled proof. It was strange. I felt no temptation to engage. Normally, I'm the type who needs resolution, needs to talk through every angle. But this time I was finished. My calm refusal to respond felt like armor I'd never had before. Then Nate started. His messages were shorter, sharper. You'll thank me one day. You were never enough for her. I'm just taking what was already mine. It was as if he wanted me to admit defeat in some twisted competition I never signed up for. His arrogance was like a second betrayal on top of the first. Not only had he crossed a line, he acted like it was his right to do so. Again, I didn't answer. I backed up his texts, then blocked him. For weeks, I carried on with my routines like nothing had happened. Work, gym, home. On the outside, I looked fine. Colleagues congratulated me for hitting deadlines. Neighbors waved when I walked past. Inside, I felt hollow. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake and replay moments I used to cherish. Nate pulling me up after I twisted my ankle in high school football. Claire falling asleep on my chest during our first road trip. Every memory now carried a sour aftertaste, like it had been poisoned retroactively. Friends noticed the absence. When I told them the truth, their faces shifted into the same expression, pity mixed with disgust. Some offered sympathy. Others said they'd always suspected something was off. That stung most of all, realizing other people saw cracks I ignored. Claire's sister even called me once. She sounded nervous, as if she was speaking against orders. She said, I don't agree with what she did, but please don't hate her. She's not as strong as she pretends to be. I thanked her and ended the call quickly. I didn't have the energy to carry anyone else's guilt. Then the rumors started to trickle back to me. A mutual friend mentioned seeing Nate and Claire together at a bar. He said Nate was acting possessive, keeping his arm locked around her waist the whole night, glaring at any guy who glanced her way. Another friend claimed Claire had shown up at her apartment crying, saying Nate wasn't who she thought he was. I didn't know how much was true and how much was gossip, and honestly, I didn't care. My name was still on people's lips, but I was learning not to let it drag me under. The real test came when Claire herself tried to break through the wall I'd built. After weeks of silence, she emailed me from a brand new address. The subject line read simply, "Please read." Inside, she wrote about regret, about feeling trapped, about Nate showing a darker side once I was gone. She claimed he called her names, checked her phone constantly, and threatened to expose private things about her if she left him. She ended with, I miss the way you cared for me. Please, just answer me, even if you hate me. I sat with that email for an hour, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of me, the old part, the part that used to bend over backward to comfort people, wanted to respond, to be the shoulder she clearly no longer had. But another part, a sharper, newer part, whispered, she made her choice. You don't have to carry her consequences. So I closed the email, saved a copy, then blocked the address. Weeks later, she found another way. A text from an unknown number lit up my phone late at night. It's me. Please don't block this one. I need you. That was when the weight of it all hit me. They had both treated me like disposable backup when they thought they had the upper hand. Now that the foundation they'd built together was crumbling, she reached back for the very person she discarded. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about me. It was about security, about control, about convenience. I realized then that my silence had become more powerful than anything I could say. Ignoring them wasn't weakness. It was the only language they couldn't twist. At night, I still felt lonely. There were still moments I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder why I wasn't enough for either of them. But during the day, I noticed small victories. Laughing with coworkers at lunch, lifting heavier weights at the gym, going a whole afternoon without thinking of their names. Healing wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, incremental. And for the first time in years, I started to feel like my life belonged to me again. Update 1. It's been about 2 months since I cut them both off. Life hasn't magically transformed, but it's steadier. I've built a routine that doesn't include checking my phone in dread. I even started running again, something I hadn't done in years because Nate always made fun of how slow I was compared to him. Turns out, when no one is mocking you, running is kind of peaceful. But last week, the silence cracked in a way I didn't expect. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I read the words. Please don't block me. It's Claire. This is the only way I can reach you. For a moment, I actually laughed. Not out of humor, but disbelief. She'd burned every bridge, and now she was tunneling back under the rubble. I almost deleted it. But curiosity got the better of me. More texts followed in quick bursts, like she was afraid I'd shut the door before she finished. I know I don't deserve your help. He's not who I thought he was. I don't feel safe anymore. She claimed Nate had become controlling to the point of paranoia. According to her, he'd demand proof of where she was every hour. He'd explode if she so much as liked a guy's photo online. Once, she said, he grabbed her phone and smashed it against the wall because she didn't answer fast enough. And here she was, messaging me from a cheap prepaid phone she'd bought in secret. She begged me not to tell anyone, said she had no one else. Her friends didn't trust her anymore. Her family was tired of the drama. The only person she thought might still care, unbelievably, was me. I didn't answer. My thumb hovered over the screen as the messages kept coming. Some were angry, almost accusing. You don't understand what he's like. Others were pleading. I just want to talk, please. You were the only one who ever treated me gently. And buried among them was a single line that stopped me cold. He told me he took you down because you were weak. But he's worse than anything I ever imagined. That sentence twisted the knife. Even now, even while she was supposedly reaching out for help, she still framed it like Nate had won something over me. Like my pain was part of their story, not my own. I put the phone down. I didn't reply, but the messages didn't stop. The next night, another number popped up. Same writing style, same desperation. She told me she'd hidden the burner phone in her bag, only pulling it out when Nate was asleep. She described herself like a prisoner sneaking contraband. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, like karma had finally done its job. Another part of me felt uneasy. I don't love her anymore, not after everything. But the thought of anyone being trapped in something abusive stirred something I didn't want to admit. Still, I kept my silence. I know how dangerous it is to step back into someone else's chaos, especially when they were the ones who dragged me through hell in the first place. Yesterday morning, I got her boldest message yet. I made a mistake choosing him. I wish I could undo everything. Please, just talk to me, even if it's just once. I don't think I can keep living like this. I stared at that one for a long time. My chest felt tight. I know she's manipulative. She's proven it 100 times. But if even a fraction of what she's saying is true, then she's in deep. And that leaves me with a choice I never wanted to face. Do I keep protecting myself? Or do I risk opening that door, even a crack, for someone who betrayed me? For now, I haven't answered. The unread messages pile up like bricks on my back. I don't know how much longer I can ignore them. Final update. I think this will really be the last time I talk about it. For weeks, my phone was a graveyard of burner numbers. Random local codes, sometimes no caller ID, sometimes text chains that started with, "Please, it's me, just talk to me," and ended with strings of insults when I didn't answer. It felt like being haunted. Every vibration made my stomach turn. One evening, I sat down and finally answered. Not a call, just a text. I typed slowly, every word like cutting a rope. "Claire, I am not your safety net. Call your family. Call the police. Stop contacting me." She replied in under a minute. "So that's it. After everything we had, you're just going to leave me to deal with this alone? You're crueler than him. At least he still cares enough to control me." That line hit me in a strange way. At first, it made me angry. How could she compare abuse to care? But then, almost instantly, it just made me feel tired. Exhausted, really. It was the clearest proof she hadn't changed. Even now, when she was cornered, she didn't want me back because of love or regret. She wanted me back because I had been predictable, dependable, safe. And she wanted safety without having earned it. I blocked the number. That night, for the first time in months, I sat outside on my balcony with a beer and felt weightless. Not happy, not triumphant, just lighter. Like I'd been carrying a backpack full of bricks and only then realized I could set it down. It wasn't about punishing her. It wasn't even about Nate. It was about me deciding I wasn't part of their story anymore. I wasn't the weak guy they joked about, and I wasn't the rebound savior she wanted me to be. I was gone. And in being gone, I found peace. I've heard things since then. This is a small town, and word travels fast when people implode loudly. Nate lost his job after starting a fight at a company event. Apparently, he threw a drink at someone. His so-called boys' club keeps its distance now because nobody wants to get dragged into his chaos. The alpha he bragged about being has no pack left to follow him. Claire? Some say she's still with him. Others say she's been spotted crying at her sister's house. I don't check. I don't stalk. I don't ask. Whatever storm she's in, it's hers. I tried once to be her anchor, and she cut the rope. As for me, I moved forward. I've built new routines. Found hobbies I'd abandoned when my old life revolved around fixing other people's messes. I've reconnected with friends I neglected when I thought my relationship was everything. Even started seeing someone new. She's nothing like Claire, quiet, grounded, thoughtful. When I told her the story, she didn't laugh, didn't pity me, didn't make it about herself. She just listened. And I realized that simple act, listening, meant more than anything Claire or Nate ever pretended to give me. So here's the closure, if you're looking for it. There was no grand confrontation, no police raid, no cinematic revenge. The revenge was silence. The closure was leaving. They can tear each other apart. And maybe one day she'll regret burning every bridge she had. Maybe he'll realize being the alpha left him lonely and jobless. Or maybe not. That's not my business anymore. What is my business is this. I learned how to breathe again. I learned that my worth isn't measured by whether someone else claims me as theirs. I learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't fighting back, but simply refusing to play the game. So yeah, final update. I let them drown in the storm they made, and I learned how to walk away without looking back.